So I wanted to do this video or audio, whichever one you're kind of watching or listening to talk a little bit more around the A&E method, so Adapt to Evolve method, and why I believe in this so much for youths, especially considering my own journey through my younger years and how much I am applying this now to adults, both male and female, in later years who are struggling mentally, emotionally, behaviourally, or just trying to better themselves and go up another level in terms of achievements or understanding how to unlock another level within their mind and achieve more in other areas. So it's quite widespread in terms of who I've coached and who I've worked with. But I have also worked with youths with parental or caregivers consent, and that's been kind of not necessarily the most passionate, because I believe in helping anyone who wants to learn from these methods. But again, due to my own experience in my younger years, I struggled a hell of a lot with the thoughts that were going on inside my head. I didn't understand the emotions that I was feeling, and ultimately they created behaviours that got me into a lot of trouble. They got me suspended from school, eventually expelled from school, a lot of trouble with the police, getting locked up numerous times, heavily involved within drugs and crime. And I think that ultimately all spiralled, yes, through choices of me being a young person and the influences that are involved within that, but also I think I had a heavy part of my life where I struggled to find an identity for myself. I struggled with a lot of self-conscious aspects as well about myself, my body, just me as a person, which stemmed a lot of behavioural issues and drug use is a bit of a form of escapism. Drugs obviously became a big part of my life then. Through teenage years, I was heavily addicted to drugs through my teenage years, and all of this stemmed then into my 20s where my mental health was on the floor. It wasn't until my late 20s where I really started to work on myself. I was sent to see counsellors and therapists. In my teenage years, it was more of a must. I had to go. But I struggled to speak to them. I struggled to understand. I used to struggle to sit in a room and have someone ask me why I felt so angry and what anger was. When it's such a young age, I probably really didn't know what anger was. Like, I didn't truly understand what an emotion was. And I think that the more I've now delved into understanding more about emotions, about the brain, about the mind, about the body, it's helped me evolve as an individual to have a good level of knowledge to now be able to aid people to understand it themselves. Self-awareness is key. And I truly think this is a missing gap where I believe children and youths are being protected, but for the wrong reasons. So I just feel that trying to help a youth not experience anger and sadness and overwhelm and stresses that you have as youths, that's what we get older and we think stress is only the adult stress that we experience. But we forget that when we were teenagers, stress was still looked at the same perspective as the youth. Does that kind of make sense? Like, the youth is experiencing the same levels of stress. As an adult, we may think, well, that's nothing compared to X, Y, Z, but they don't see it like that, because they're within that world for themselves. How are we not helping youths understand what stress is, what overwhelm is, what frustration is, and start to understand how to utilise emotions? Like, they're not things that we should shy away from, ignore, push away, because obviously that's when they build up and they can come out in a variety of ways. Let's help youths understand what emotions are, which is what I do now, again, with adults. To understand what anger is, what feeling it brings up within the body, what thoughts are associated with it or link in, what triggers potentially are there causing you to feel this way, and ultimately what behaviour comes because of it. Like, are we going to then do something that we regret, or can we actually pause and think, actually, there's a better option here? Which is tough for children and youth because of the people that are around, and also just not exactly knowing what the right decision is. Do you know what I mean? As a youth, you truly don't know potentially the right from wrong and true values. But that's not to say you shouldn't know it. Like, you can help a child formulate values, but hopefully values that they want. My values have transitioned all the way through my life. Large part of it, I didn't really know what they were, but I would have still valued something. Thankfully, in my late years, I've been able to understand how to pick my values and then live towards them, which ultimately help you make better and informed decisions. And this may, for most people, this, like, you couldn't go through this with children. They wouldn't connect with it. I disagree with that. I just think it's not spoken about on a level. So when I'm speaking to a child, there's not necessarily a difference in terms of how I would speak to an adult. And that's why I relate, and I get told that I'm relatable, and I get told that the barriers are broken down with use in the way that I coach, because I'm just me as I would be for anyone. Are these methods right for every single person? No, of course they're not. And there are other methods of counseling, of therapy, or other coaches out there that would take someone on a journey, whether they're trying to get from a bad place to a good place, or whether they are trying to get from a good place to a better place, or an achievement in a sport or in a specific area, academic area, whatever it may be. There's other coaches and there are other areas out there that could help them. What I think is missing is the combination. There's some tools, quote unquote tools, I use within my own life. And I use these when I was at a very bad patch. And then as I started to transition to be a lot more positive, I kept the tools in. The tools stopped becoming an escape and actually start to become a leverage. So where I use physical training aspects, and it doesn't mean you need to be the fittest, that's not what it's about. It's to your levels, it's to your own ability levels. When I use breath has become a huge part of my life. Like breath and meditation completely transitioned and changed my life. I'm not ashamed to say those things as well. And I think that's the thing that I would like to get across to you, to learn how to use breath techniques to control the mind, to control the nervous system, to calm you down in certain states, and to get you fired up in the right states as well. It's understanding how to use, they call it kind of regulation. Imagine you've got a dial and you can turn and slow down your nervous system, turn up your nervous system, drive your nervous system, slow it down, calm yourself down. And it's to give the youth an understanding, like, you've got the ability to do that. Again, I'm trying to teach adults that now, who are late 20s, early 30s, going into 40s like myself, and they didn't know about how you can change your own nervous system through the breath, through your thoughts, through controlling your emotions. We could give the power of this to children now. And again, to sit in a room with a big board and go through it on a screen, potentially kids are going to shut off, as I would have. But to use tools like I use in a safe and controlled manner, but definitely bringing emotions up within a youth or a person, and this is fully experienced for myself and the people that I coach, it's at that point you can help someone understand those emotions or those thoughts. And then when you've got them into an excited state where they've achieved something, they've understood their emotions, they've listened to their mind, you can then start to talk about behaviours. You can then start to talk about direction. You can then start to talk about values and rights or wrongs. And it's taken in more. It's understood because they feel so good. They've had such an endorphin rush of achievement. Their nervous system is fired in a positive manner. And at that point, for me, it's the essence of learning then. When they feel good, they have good emotions, they feel proud, they have self-belief, which they gain through using some of the tools and situations I put them in to create a positive stressor, but one that they will overcome. But they have to listen to their body. They have to understand their emotions, not run from them. They have to listen to their mind, get to know their mind. And then ultimately they can start to take more control through self-awareness. And then we can talk about decisions that they may have in the future, decisions they might have in the moment, who they truly want to be within this moment. And we talk about identity as well. My identity shifted all the way through my life, and I can guarantee it'll be different again in 10 years' time, 15 years' time. What you understand now is I can impact my identity how I want it to be. The things that I learn, the people I'm around, the environments that I'm in, the challenges that I put myself into, positive ones, but also the challenges that come with life that I can learn from. The negative patches that will still happen in my life that I can learn from. And again, it's about teaching this to kids. Like, it's not always going to be positive. There are going to be patches of negativity and downtimes. That's okay. But what do we do in those times? Like, how do we handle those times? And I feel that's something as well, enabling children to be more resilient. And that's not to say they need to be tougher. It's to say they need to be more resilient in terms of understanding, like, when I feel down, low, sad, it's okay. It's all right to feel like that. But I'm resilient enough to feel it and be okay with that. And then to still look ahead and to still ensure I could potentially make some moves after I've got through this period. And that is what I want to bring. And I'm truly passionate about this again. This is what I've been coaching adults. I continue to coach adults. I have coached youths in both workshops and one-to-one, but I've got a bit of a drive now to really kind of help more youths start to understand, because I still think it's missing with the educational system. I still think there's a lot of organisations out there trying to help youths, but they are doing it with tools, but not necessarily with this internal aspect that I personally bring. There's other coaches out there that may do some of this, but again, this is driven off my own change, off my own learning and understanding how I was in my young years and what I probably wished, not necessarily, that I knew. Would I have listened to myself when I was a teenager? Who knows? But that shouldn't stop me trying to impact positively youths right now. So that's my mission. If you've got any questions around this, please get in touch. The facility that I use is my own. The tools that I use are things that I've gone through on my own. It is definitely adapted to suit the needs of youths and designed for youth specifically. And again, there'll be a process of ensuring that the person coming in is ready for this. And if they aren't ready, it's not to say they will never be. There may just be some communication to kind of understand what that time would be. The outcome of this is to aid a youth to understand their mind better, understand their brain better, and be able to listen to thoughts and understand thoughts, to be able to understand emotions. What are emotions? When do we experience them? And ultimately, like, what are the right behaviours? That's not to always say we will behave the right way. We are, even as adults, we still make decisions and behave in ways that we regret, but ultimately it's owning that decision and still then knowing what is the better decision, the honesty, the moves that I need to make. And I think, like I said a minute ago, we try to pull this a lot away from teenagers and youths, but I feel there's an opportunity there to aid a youth in their adult years by working with them on this now. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there, guys. If you do want more information, obviously we'll probably be speaking over the phone.